You are listening to Fantha Tracks.
It's time to get all your Star Wars news in a single file. This is Canon Fodder. Here are your hosts, Mark Mulcaster, Brian Cameron, Matt Booker, and Mark Newbold.
Grab your bookmarks, it's time to take cover as we unleash the Canon Fodder over the Star Wars galaxy of literature. Canon Fodder is the home on Fantha Tracks Radio for everything Star Wars literature, from comics, books, magazines and partworks. We delve below the covers of what is new in Star Wars literature, analyse it and give it our honest assessment. We cast our eyes to the future and see what releases we can't wait to read, look back at classic releases, meet and talk with the talent creating the content, as well as discuss the latest literature news. On this episode of Canon Fodder, we're at New York Comic Con 2022 for the Star Wars High Republic Returns panel. Lucasfilm creative director Michael Siglain introduced authors Zoraida Córdova, Tessa Gratton, Claudia Gray, Justina Ireland, Lydia Kang, George Mann, José Older, Cavan Scott and Charles Soule, along with artist Ario Anindito, onto the stage in room 406.3 at 3:15 p.m. on Saturday the 8th of October to discuss Phase 2 of the High Republic. Matt Booker and Mark Newbold were there to cover it for Fantha Tracks, a panel you can hear right now here on Canon Fodder.
Hello, Comic-Con! Welcome to our High Republic Returns panel. My name is Michael Siglain. I'm the creative director of publishing for Lucasfilm, and we are here today to talk about the High Republic. As usual for our Comic-Con panels, we try to see how many authors we can fit on the stage at once. I think this is a record for us, though you never know, there might be a few more people joining us. So, first up, let me introduce these amazing all-star artists and authors. Zoraida Córdova. Claudia Gray. Justina Ireland. Lydia Kang. So, as you all know, the High Republic Phase 2 has launched this week, officially. We are back, and a question to get us started for the group, and let's give this one to Charles, I think. How does this phase differ from what we've seen in Phase 1?
Well, it's before it, that's one thing. Phase 2 is set about 150 years before Phase 1, and so the galaxy, while it's still the High Republic, it's still a golden age, things are still wonderful, it's earlier. It's more of an age of exploration, an age of expansion. The galaxy's not quite as well known. There are zones that the Republic is trying to sort of check out, and they have set up teams that go out to these interesting places. It just feels wilder. It feels a little bit less like, squared away, which means the stories can be wilder and a little bit less squared away, which is super fun.
Excellent. So what we're talking about for this phase, these are the books you've got coming up, right? This is the story we're talking about. I want to dig into how this phase differs from Phase 1, right? So Phase 1, we open on this great disaster, and we meet the Nile. This is very different, and that's deliberate. With this one, with our first book that has launched, Path of Deceit by Tessa and Justina, we meet the Path of the Open Hand. And I was hoping the two of you could speak a little bit about the path and what their beliefs are.
Well, thanks, Mike. I can do that. Yeah, so the Path of the Open Hand is basically a cult. And like most cults, it seems really great, right? It's like, come in, help us, make some food, make some friends, prepare, everything's flowers and beautiful. But their main driving belief is the Force should be free, which means you don't mess around with the Force. And who messes around with the Force? The Jedi, of course. So it's really kind of a way to set up a philosophical opposition to our Jedi, who we spent a lot of time with in Phase 1, and now they're kind of having a little bit different of a challenge. Do you want to add? Is that good?
I think that's perfect.
That's perfect. I want you all to mark that in your day calendars, because that's the first time Tessa's ever told me it was perfect.
And the last time.
All right, so we meet the path. Let's talk about some of the Jedi that we meet in that book. Who's Kevmo?
Oh, Cavan is a Padawan, and he is excited to be a Jedi. He loves it. He loves everything about it, and he especially loves being out on the frontier and getting to go places that Jedi have never been before and meet new people and develop relationships with them. So he's just super enthusiastic Jedi. Everything that I love about the Jedi, I put into Kevmo and made him also love.
Awesome. So the next book we've got coming out is Quest for the Hidden City. George, who are the Pathfinders?
So the Pathfinders are teams of Jedi and the Republic that they've put together to send out into those zones that Charles was talking about earlier, that there's unexplored regions, unknown regions. So they go out on diplomatic missions, exploration missions, they go out to help people wherever help might be needed, to introduce people to the idea of the Republic as well. So in Quest for the Hidden City, we follow one of those teams with Salandra Sho, who's Jedi Master, and her Padawan Rupa, and some Republic people as well, going out to find out what's happened to another Pathfinder team that's gone missing. So they've had this droid turn up, babbling about monsters, and they've lost communication with this other team in an unknown area. So they've gone out to find out what's going on, and they have to both complete the mission that the other team were trying to do and find out what happened to the people there.
And Salandra is not really our traditional Jedi in a way, right?
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about her.
Yeah, so Salandra, she really believes in protecting people. And obviously that's a tenet of the Jedi generally, but she really takes that to heart, so much so that she carries a shield. And she sees herself and the Jedi as a shield for anyone who needs their help and protection. So she's got a kind of cool fighting style. She uses a shield, she uses the Force to push it around and protect herself while she's fighting. And she always kind of her approach to things is she'd always rather be the shield than the sword. So if she can use that shield as a philosophy, she will.
So we hear a little bit about the Pathfinder, the path of the open hand, some of the Jedi. Zoraida, your novel takes a look at two planets that we've seen in Phase 1, but at a different stage at this point. Can you tell us a little bit about what happens in Convergence?
Yeah, Convergence is set on Aram and Erno, and we're approaching these planets in a time when they're at war, but we open with a ceasefire, and ceasefires they either last or they're broken, and so the Jedi and the Republic journey out there to not just protect this peace, but to figure out if they can work together to uphold it. And so Gelanatai, who's on the cover, she's there to prove herself that she can do this, that she can fulfill this mission. But of course, she's going to encounter some conflict.
And can you talk a little bit about the main characters? This is a very personal novel. There's four main characters that really drive the story in this one.
Yeah, so there's Gela, our Jedi. We have Axel Braylark, who is the son of one of the chancellors of the Republic, and so he's thrown in there sort of like a wild card to represent his mother in a way that doesn't create political ripples. We also have the leaders from both planets. We have Princess Ziri and Prince. He's the heir to Aram, Fantha Tracks. And so the four of them are there to make sure that these planets can have a real future. But there's people working in the shadows, and they have to figure out who that is and what is going to try to stop them from having actual great peace.
And those events will have ripple effects, of course, throughout, as all books do, which is part of the beauty of them. Cav, let's talk about Jeddah. What's happening on Jeddah at this point?
So yeah, in the second run of the Marvel comic, we visit Jeddah, and we spend the entire run there. And just like Phase 1, we had a young Jedi called Keeve Trennis. In this one, we have Builder Mac, who is an older Jedi, who feels that, well, Keeve was trying to work out what kind of Jedi she would be. Builder doesn't really think his service as a Jedi has gone particularly well. So he goes to Jeddah to find peace and harmony, and all the things Jeddah's supposed to be. Because Jeddah at this point is a melting pot of false religions who are all fighting for prominence. The Jedi are definitely not welcome on Jeddah at this time. They have no temple there. They are there and they are tolerated, and that's just about it, because they have a history on Jeddah. And so they arise at a time where a group called the Convocation have come together. They're an advisory body of different false religions and bodies and factions who are there to try and bring that harmony that Jeddah so desperately needs. And they're trying to plan a festival of the Force that they can show everyone how everyone can just, mud along together and be very happy forever. So it's 10 issues of people being very happy. Yes. Or is it?
Never mind, I was gonna... Charles, let's talk about Fodder Angle.
Right. Okay, so I'm guessing you're in this room, you checked out Phase 1 of the High Republic, right? It was pretty fun. So there was a character who popped up a fair amount in those stories named Porter Engle. Yeah, cool, right? Porter Engle is a jolly fellow. He's kind of a legend within the Jedi Order. He's kind of semi-retired though. He's off being sort of a cook. He's got a famous 9-egg stew. You have a sense of what he's like, and he's just great. The kind of fellow you'd have a beer with. We're gonna meet him again there in the Blade when he is much younger, 150 years younger. He is in his prime. He's not quite as jolly. He's still super cool, but he's somebody who has dedicated his you know how Jedi are they're kind of generalists to a degree, right? They kind of like try to do a bunch of different things, and maybe some are a little bit better than one thing, some are better than another. He is only about the lightsaber. That's all he cares about. That's all he's focused on. So when I was writing this comic, which is being drawn by the incredible Marco Castiello with covers by Giuseppe Camuncoli, beautiful stuff, I really tried to think about what it would be like if a Jedi who was, had access to the Force like they all do, just focused on the saber exclusively. And so you'll get to see lightsaber stuff in this that you haven't seen before, which is very cool. The other element of this story that I'm really excited about is that he is not traveling by himself. If he's focused on exclusively the lightsaber, he needs somebody else with him who is kind of handles some of the other Jedi stuff, and that is his sister, whose name is Barash. If you know some of my other Star Wars storytelling that I've done, there's a concept called the Barash vow. Those two names, it's not coincidental that she's named Barash, and there's a thing called Barash vow. I'm not going to say much more about that now, but there's a lot of deep lore, myth-building stuff going on. You also have just incredibly kick-ass battle stuff that I am super it's a Jedi sword master doing cool Jedi stuff, but at the same time, he's a Jedi, so it's all about defending and protecting as opposed to attacking and destroying. So I think you will really like it. It's 4 issues, starts, I think the first issue's out next month, and then it just rolls from there. I'm very happy I've gotten to do that one.
Hey, it's Alyssa Wong, writer of Dr. Aphra, and you're listening to Fantha Tracks.
Daniel, what is Saab up to?
Sav Malagan! There she is. So Charles, I pulled a thread from the Phase 1 storytelling. One of my favorite characters to write, who we meet as a little old lady who will whoop everybody's ass. And we go all the way back in time to when she is 15 and absolutely sick to death of the Jedi. Mind you, she is a Padawan, but she's going to have to figure that out. So in some ways, we meet Lula Talisola in Phase 1, who's kind of the main character of High Republic Adventures, and she's the opposite. She wants to be the best Jedi ever, and her whole life is the Jedi, and obviously everything goes great with that. And now we meet Sav, who's really much more interested in what's going on across the lake, where Maz Kanata's castle is. So every night, she sneaks out from the Jedi Temple and goes and parties with the cool kids, like all the rest of us would do too if we lived within the vicinity of Maz's castle. And she thinks Maz is the greatest person in the world, and she's right. Hilarity ensues.
Should we show some of the cool kids?
Oh, we're gonna show something. Okay.
A little sneak peek.
Yes! Tony Bruno. Please give it up for Tony Bruno on our He's incredible. Our covers are $120 back on covers, but this is Maz's castle back in the day of High Republic Phase 2. You may notice some familiar faces, but let me take you through some of the non-familiar ones. That big brooding fellow in the back, his name is the great pirate Alak. He accidentally took over an entire cruise ship once, and then it belonged to him. Beside him is Quiet Shan, who's kind of his mentee. He looks out for her. It's said that if you ever hear her speak, you're dead. Over in the front, that is Coromant Vizzle. They say the law is always on his back. He's been on the run his entire life. He gets caught every once in a while, but he always escapes. There is a Corellian hound there. You are correct. And then, of course, in the back, we do have the great, the renowned Dexter. Dexter is back. Not just as a cameo, but he is fully a part of the team in this wonderful system. And let me tell you, there's one other cameo in here that you may recognize. Obviously the most famous Star Wars character of all, Therm Scissorpunch, is sitting back there. He is also a part of the team. Let me tell you something. I'll just throw a lot of things at the page, assuming that Lucasfilm is going to be like, absolutely not. Why would you even do that? And that's how this team got to be so big. There's like 7 people in this group. There's even another one in there that you haven't even seen yet. He's a Hoover, which is a deep dive. That's Pablo. But anyway, that's the team. Give them a round of applause because they are awesome.
So also coming from Dark Horse, we have Quest of the Jedi, and this is a work in progress cover. Claudia, I wonder if you could tell us a little bit about who that Jedi is with the green lightsaber.
That is Barnabas Vim, who is, he's one of the mystics of the Jedi Order, and that's always the element of the Jedi that I'm the most interested in. And I already feel like in Phase 1, you see a Jedi Order that's more connected to the mystic part of that experience than what we see in the Order by, say, the time of the Phantom Menace. But this, going further back, Barnabas is a deep mystic even by those standards. He is somebody who, he's very controlled, and you might think that he was very rigid in some ways, but he really relies on intuition, meditation. He thinks through symbols, and that is really the way that he arrives at his conclusions. He feels his way through an issue until, of course, we get to this, when, some of that may have fallen down on the job. Though really, actually, that is the cause for the person with the other lightsaber, who is Bix Phonic. That is Barnabas's Padawan, and she's great, she's courageous, and she's forthright, and she's wonderful, but he has told her many times that it is important to think before you speak. And as you see here, that lesson has not always been absorbed, but it's been really fun getting to play with it. Can I talk about kind of the feel of it?
Sure, yeah, please.
We always wanted to sort of call back sort of like Legends of Golden Ages with the High Republic, and I feel like this really got to be very Arthurian and really dive into that, which was incredibly fun to do.
Awesome. All right, let's reveal some covers. Lydia, I think you are up first. Welcome to the High Republic. Shall we reveal the cover to Cataclysm?
Yeah.
Can you tell us who that is and a little bit about this without giving too much away?
Yeah, there's only so much I'm allowed to say. So that is Axel Greylark, who Zoraida mentioned. He is the son of one of the 2 chancellors at the time. And it's not too spoilery. I think if you have eyes, you'll notice that he's not a Jedi. And he's holding a lightsaber. And Gela is holding 2 of those purple lightsabers on the cover of Convergence. So
Yes, we get to explore the heck he's doing with that. How did he get it? How did he get it? And does she get it back? So that's one question that we answer. I'm not allowed to say a whole lot, but I think I'm allowed to say one more little thing. One more little thing. There's another character in this book who is a Master Jedi, who's short with pointy green ears, and whose name starts with a Y. Yeah. And it's not Yoda.
All right, let's go to our middle grade and take a look at the work in progress for that one. So Tessa, tell us a little bit about Quest for Planet X and who those folks are on the cover.
That looks so great. This is the first time I've seen the final cover.
This is a real cover.
Yes, it really is.
Have you met me at shows? There's a theme.
So Quest for Planet X follows Rupert Natani, who is the Padawan from George's middle grade, and Das, who is also in the middle grade. He is the son of a hyperspace prospector, and they team up with Sky Graf, who steals their brother's fancy spaceship, and the three of them go off on a hyperspace adventure. It's a race where everyone is looking for Planet X and to see who can get there first.
Cool. All right, Cav, I think you're up next. Shall we reveal the cover, which, if you've seen our trailer,
oh, go on then.
You know a little bit about this one.
So, there's a cover right there. Can't really say much about it.
No, you can't.
But then there's a Jedi at the back with the lightsaber there. But if you've been following the press for the Marvel series, her name's Matty. She's a Padawan. And all roads lead to Dalna for Matty. And yeah, I can't really say much more. I mean, there's some other characters, and there's some creatures there, some nameless kind of creatures. Yeah. Plural.
What's that on the ground there, Cav? What's that? What's that?
I couldn't possibly
And we're
comment.
good. Beautiful cover. Look at these beautiful covers. We do have one more title though coming up after these that Daniel's working on, in fact. And that is our new manga coming from Viz. This will be out in spring. Daniel, can you say a little bit about this, or even a couple of the characters?
There's a Wookiee.
It's not Buriaga.
It's not Buriaga. I will say that this has been a really, really cool story to write. It feels very different. The collaborative process with Viz is super cool. Tomio's been great to work with. It's a dark story, and I know like this High Republic, everything is dark, but I know, you know, except for a couple things. But no, it's really exciting. It's a story that yes, it's rooted in the Phase 2 era, but it also spans a great deal of time, and that's all I'll say about that.
And yes, it's overall it's a little dark. Show of hands, who has a character that dies in their first book or comic?
I
didn't say to name the character. I just said, you know, if you have a character that maybe doesn't make it to the next book or comic. I think it's pretty much everyone on this table.
Not just me.
All right, so the flip side of that, who's the character that you are most looking forward to having fans see and meet in Phase 2? This is for everybody. We'll start with Charles and go down to Zoraida.
I mean, you know, you've met Porter. I'm excited for you to meet Porter's, you know, previous incarnation. But Barash, in her own right, is a super, super cool character, and it's got to be her. She's super great.
On Jeddah is a planet of peace and harmony and religion and beer. And so there is a bar called Enlightenment, which is run by a gentleman called Cradon, who will not allow violence or theological debate in his bar, but will allow you to buy a lot of drinks. I can't wait to meet him and his bodyguards, the Twinkle Sisters.
Cormont Bizzle is a legendary pirate in the galaxy. He has hundreds of songs written about him because he wrote all of them.
It's got to be Salandra. You're going to meet her in kind of master mode in the middle grade, but then she's going to be on Jeddah, and that melting pot that Cav's talked about is going to go boom in the Battle of Jeddah, and Salandra's there, and she gets to do some really cool stuff with that shield.
All right, well, since I already said yeah, I have to say somebody else. I'm going to say Chancellor Greylark. She's a character that shows up in both of our books, me and Zoraida, and she's a complicated character, and it's been really interesting spending time with her. Just put it at that. I'm going to go with Yana Rowe because we all need a butch, ever-ending girlfriend.
I really can't separate Barnabas and Vix for this because I love both characters individually, but I love writing them together because you would think possibly if you just met one and then you met the other separately, these two people could not get along. And they actually get along famously. And so I love that partnership.
I'm most excited about everyone meeting Marta Rowe, Yana's cousin, who's a very different kind of Evereni from Yana, and her relationship to the Force is incredibly pure and passionate, but very different from the kind of relationships we're used to seeing with the Force. Like Kill Your Darlings, forming characters, but I think I'm going to go with Gela because she's a Jedi who wants to be a perfectionist and has this archetype of what it actually means to be the best Jedi. But for her, it's going to be a journey about how she's wrong and what her truth actually looks like and her path to success, no pun intended.
I like it that you're just talking to me.
Yes. It really helps me to look at Tessa.
Tell Tessa about your favorite character.
For everything in one location, daily news, reviews, interviews, podcasts, video, and social media feeds, bookmark FanthaTracks.com for Star Wars news 24/7, 365.
All right, well, I think we should bring a couple more people up onto the stage. So we have a big High Republic family. I'm thrilled to announce that Ario Anindito is here. Charles, if you could pass down that handheld mic, please.
We'll move that. Okay.
Yeah.
Get your table time. Right?
All right.
It's also organised.
Musical chairs.
Well, thank you both for joining. We're going to start with you, Ario. We have some of your pencils to issue 1. Which are really quite exquisite. Can you tell us a little bit, first of all, how long did that spread take you?
Well, sorry. Thank you everyone for coming. This takes around 2 days from me to draw.
I'm surprised it wasn't
10 minutes to write.
Thanks, Cav.
And can you tell us a little bit about the process when you're working?
Oh, well, on this page or on the...
Overall, please. Thank you.
Yeah, well, I really enjoy Cavan's script, and this time in the phase 2, I just try to imagine as if the characters are alive and how they interact with each other, and I gotta make sure that this is a different character from phase 1, and each has very interesting characters to explore. And I try to picture them as if it's a movie. That's how I try to visualize everything. And fortunately, I study architecture in college, so it's really helped.
It shows.
I'm drawing that Jeddah from above. Don't do that again, Cav.
Have you read the script of issue 7 yet?
Not yet.
Okay.
So this is a little before and after on these pages.
Yeah.
When the rest of the team comes in. Ario, do you have a favorite character to draw from this phase or phase 1?
From phase 1, it's got to be Keith. because it's such a pleasure to draw her. And from this one, it's Matty, yeah, that's the joyful little pink girl over there. It's really fun to draw her.
Awesome. Well, it's interesting to hear you say, Pete, we're going to get to her a little bit more in a second when we speak with. Oh wait, first I forgot about this. So, Kat, you mentioned Craydon and the Twinkle Sisters. That is Craydon, and those are the Twinkle Sisters, as designed by Ario. For Cav and George and Ario, can you tell us all a little bit more about them and your approach to them?
Cav, George.
Yeah. So I had lots of conversations with Cav when I was going into writing the audio about like how these characters speak, and Cav was like, "Well, the Twinkle Sisters don't really speak that much," so we kind of went back and forth a little bit and figured out kind of they've got a very monosyllabic approach to life. Whereas Craydon speaks about himself in the third person, and he's effervescent, I would say. He's a karate master. Yeah, and I mean, his bar is the place you want to go on Jeddah, basically.
Yes.
And the Twinkle Sisters do have names. It's Delphine and Camille.
We'll go, there you go.
Yeah, I'm not sure they know which is which. So yeah, we will find out a lot about their private life and hobbies, which will be surprising.
And the thing about Enlightenment is it's a little bit of, Rick's Cafe from Casablanca meets the bar from Cheers by way of Star Wars.
Yeah, I mean, if you need something, you go to Craydon, and then you will be in Craydon's debt forever. And so, yeah, I mean, he is much more than a bartender. Much, much more.
And Ario, how did you approach drawing these characters? Even Craydon, go back a page, is unlike anything we've ever seen before.
Yeah, he looks like a really fun bartender, right? the one that you want to spend times with for a long time, hundreds of years maybe. And I just make sure that the Twinkle Sisters look as beautiful and pretty as I can draw. Yeah. Mission accomplished.
Yeah, mission accomplished, for sure. Speaking of art, Kristen, you have a book coming out in a little over a month.
I do. We saw the cover earlier and Ario said, "That's our baby."
It is.
It's true.
Can you tell us a little bit about how you approached this title and what the challenges were to this book?
Yes. So it's interesting, there's a wonderful Art of Star Wars series already that I'm sure many of the people in this room have already spent some time with. But every other Art of book that we've done has dealt with a production and a production schedule. And so when we approached this one, as everyone up here very well knows, it wasn't just your standard pre-production, production, post-production schedule to create all of this wealth of story and comics and books and everything that even went beyond the books and comics in the initiative. So we really looked at it more as, here's the art, here's the design, but also let's take a step back and tell you the story of the making of putting you in the room at those amazing summits at Skywalker Ranch and those conversations that were being had at the very beginning to try and figure out, we have an idea, we want to tell a big story, what could that be? How do we approach that? How do we get from just that blue sky moment to where we are now, where you're launching phase 2 of the High Republic. So it was just such a joy to write that story, to be able to talk to everybody, and then also to really dig into the design and the art. And Ario and I got to be good friends talking over Zoom for hours and hours and hours because we were just going through all these beautiful drawings he was doing. And that's true to a person of everyone we got to interview about this project for this book.
It does go into the background, even stuff that is unused. I don't know if you can speak to any of that, or if there was anything in there that surprised you, or.
Well, there was a lot of things that surprised me, but I don't know that I can talk about them yet, since the book's not out. It's just such a joy to go through all of this artwork because it's so rare for a book and comic series to have such a wealth of artistic design coming before it, you know, and Mike, I think you've spoken to this before, but in books and comics, if you need a character for a cover, then you design the character. But in this case, there was a lot of design work going on beforehand, and so we really got to see, you know, who these characters are, what some of their quirks are, what some of their tools look like, what their lightsabers look like. It was just wonderful to get to sift through those folders and try and figure out what we could put into the art of book. And then to have an art of book.
It's just wild.
It's wild.
But the cool thing is that it does pull from every aspect of the phase, right? So, you know, Ario was talking about Kiev earlier. You know, your art is in this to show, you know, your process. You know, and I think that's the beauty of the book. It really does allow you to go behind the scenes or behind the page in a way that you don't typically do with publishing.
This is one of my favorite spreads. I would probably have said that no matter what spread you put up here right now. But truly, I love this study of all of Kiev's expressions and just I could spend so much time looking at this spread. It's just a joy, thank you.
And Ario, how much do you do this for the other characters? Do you do this for everyone, the main ones? What's your approach to this?
I do it for all the main characters, of course, but some of them are not displayable because it's just, you know. I have it here in my head, but in the paper it's terrible, actually. Yeah. So I just send Christine the best ones.
Well, job well done. Let's
Thank
look
you
at
so much.
some other art that we've got coming up. So, from High Republic 5 and the Blade #4, Cap, can you tell us a little bit about who that is on the cover of High Republic 5?
That is Tay Cyric.
It's perfect. It's like we've rehearsed this. It's fantastic. You could actually say a little bit more about it.
Okay, so Tay Cyric is, I quite
That's
like...
enough.
Okay.
Don't crazy down.
Basically, I like Lethal Weapon, and I want to do that in Star Wars with a Jedi and someone who is not a Jedi, and that is Tay Cyric.
And Charles, tell us a little bit about, you spoke about Porter earlier and his relationship with Barash. Can you tell us a little bit about the mission they have to go on?
Right, so there's a concept in Phase 2 that pops up in a number of different stories called the Office of the Frontier. And the Office of the Frontier is like a Republic-backed office. It's a location. There's several of them scattered around the frontier where people from the galaxy can go to get Republic services, can sort of communicate with the Corps if they need to, but more particularly they can present petitions for Jedi aid. And so, if you're just somebody who needs the Jedi, you can put a petition at the Office of the Frontier. If you're lucky, the Jedi will help you. And so the mission that Barash and Porter go on is in response to a petition they find at the Office of the Frontier. There is basically a city that is under siege. It's a very, very volatile environment on a very, very important planet that is deep within the frontier and is very difficult to communicate with. So they're basically cut off, and just the two of them have to solve a very, very, very delicate problem that they have to understand very, very quickly. And so Porter, this is issue 4, so things have kind of kicked off, and you can see that Porter looks angry there. He's not, in fact, angry. He is certain. He is very, very certain. And that will make more sense when you read it.
Excellent. So Charles, that's not the only High Republic thing you're working on now, is it?
That is true. Reorganizing a little bit. So I am working on another High Republic project. I'm very excited about it. I'm very nervous about it. I'm actually getting a little emotional about it now that I think about it. Because it connects to one of the primary themes of Star Wars for me, which is family, right? So there's biological family, there's found family, all of the good and bad and tricky that can come with those things. And so okay, I get it. You're on your own on this one. Here's look at my found family, look how they're treating me. But so I've been working on a project that really underscores those themes for me, because I'm working on it with a member of my own family. And so I would like to bring up my daughter, Rosemary Soule. so you can use this one. Just bend it down, and you'll be fine. So this is wild. This is Rosemary Rosie, and she's known most of these people for years. You guys have sort of seen her grow up a little bit, and so the fact that she's doing something is amazing. But I've been talking a lot. How do you feel? What is this like for you to be up on this panel?
Well, I'm definitely a little bit intimidated, but this is also obviously so cool, and I feel really lucky to have this opportunity.
Good. So what are we doing? What are we working on?
Well, we're working on a Star Wars kids book that's set in the High Republic, and it comes out next year, and it's super cute.
That's true. So why a kids book? Why was a kids book something that you...
Well, Star Wars has always been a really big part of my life ever since I was little.
Why is that?
So it felt really important to me to kind of be a part of bringing Star Wars into other little kids' lives, and so I'm really excited to have that opportunity.
So what is our book called?
It's called Yoda and the Younglings.
It's very adorable. So it is about Yoda in his role as a teacher, teaching some younglings who need some teaching, some stuff. So we know that Yoda's in it, right? We know there's some adorable new younglings in it. Is there anybody else in it?
There is another very special character in this book.
A big deal, you might say.
Yeah, a big deal.
A big deal. Okay. So the art in the book is by Valerie Valdivia. It's gorgeous. Really, really beautiful stuff. Mike, do we have an image we can show?
We might have an image that we could show of Yoda and the younglings. This is our title page, and it features Yoda and Buryaga.
So yeah, it's Yoda, it's Wookiee Padawan Buryaga, and they are both gonna teach some of those rascal younglings a thing or two. And it's so fun. I'm very thrilled that we get to do this together, Rosie.
We are just as thrilled. High Republic and Star Wars publishing, in particular, has always been about family, like you said. And so we're thrilled to have you in the family officially, Rosie, and really excited for this book. This is what I love about this book is it teaches kids that that they can be brave and that they should be brave, and it's okay to be afraid and still be brave. It's a really beautiful story. It is set before the events of the end of Phase 1, just to clarify. But it is a...
Hi, this is George Mann, and you're listening to Fantha Tracks.
That's not the only thing we've got coming next year, though. We do have one other title that just about everyone, I think, is working on. We've got a YA anthology coming out just in time for San Diego next year, which features all of the luminous authors on here. The cool thing about this title is that this spans all of the phases, right? You'll see stuff from Phase 1, pre-Phase 1, Phase 2, pre-Phase 2, post-Phase 2, pre-Phase 3, maybe even some characters from Phase 3. You can't say that fast. You really can't. But this is exciting. So going down the line, you guys want to say what era of the High Republic you guys are working in for this, so we can get a sense of who's doing what without giving away characters?
Phase 2.
Can't say characters for this one because for obvious reasons.
Post Phase 2. It starts one day after the end of Phase 1.
Yes.
Post Phase 1, but not Phase 3. Post Phase 2.
Yeah, yours I think really is pretty right before Phase 3. Yeah.
Yes, right.
Post Phase 2.
late mid phase 1.
So very nearly phase 3.
I mean, I think it's kind of phase 3, basically. Yeah, it's phase 3. So here you go.
So this is a fun way to get caught up on stuff, before we launch the third phase, before Trials of the Jedi begins in November of next year. The thing with all of these titles, right, whether it's phase 1, phase 2, the thing that I want to reiterate is there is a story for everyone here, right? There's a format for everyone, there's a story for everyone. As much as I would love for everyone to read all of them, and certainly encourage that, it really isn't necessary. If you're enjoying one format, enjoy that format, right? If you love the adult novels, great, we've got plenty of them for you. If you love the comics, great, we've got plenty of those too. If you want to try a new format, I highly, highly recommend it. The Path of Deceit, if you haven't read YA, is an amazing way to take that first step into a larger world, right? And so that's how all of these things are structured, and even how the YA is structured, right? So that it shows you a little bit of everything. So if you missed phase 2, if you missed phase 1, great, maybe there's a story in there that you want to jump back to say, oh, let me try this phase, let me try this other format. Because we certainly have a lot, and there's a lot more to come, which is really exciting. One thing that I want to do before I forget is everyone should have gotten a raffle ticket on their way in. The raffle ticket is to win one of the High Republic Loungefly backpacks. And you can go down to the Disney publishing booth, which is 2827. But let's figure out who won, huh? Rosie, do you want to do the honors? Pick 2. Pick one, read it out, and then you can pick the other and read it out, please.
594688 and
So yeah, you go. So it's downstairs, Disney Publishing booth 2827. 2827 is the booth. So yeah, we'll hang on to your other ticket.
Okay.
And you can pick it up afterward. And then the other one?
594653.
The other thing that I forgot to mention is that we do have a signing after this. Hall A, tables 3 and 4, 6 p.m. I believe.
Yeah.
6 p.m. If anyone is interested. All right. So question for the group. You can't pick your own character, but who's a character from Phase 2 that was the most unexpected for you? It could be, you didn't expect them to be as powerful, as scary. There's a character turn coming up. Just can't pick your own.
You had me at Yaddle.
Sunshine Dobbs. There's a lot about Sunshine Dobbs.
You know what? That's a good point. You want to talk a little bit about Sunshine? Because we can talk a little bit about him.
Me?
Sure.
Okay. So Sunshine Dobbs is a prospector of note. He maybe is slightly on the shady side, and he gets involved with a certain person called the Mother.
I'm excited about Barash. As a fan of Charles's other Star Wars work, it's very cool to see the interconnectivity, and I just can't wait to see what happens.
I love what Tessa and Justina did with Kevin. It was perfect. Excellent. I'm glad to hear that. I really loved Salandra. She's amazing, very cool, and I want to do more with her.
I'm going to say Mardo Rowe. Really interesting character. Lots of depth.
Did you say depth or depth?
Depth.
Just check.
I would say Axel Greylark. I think he's super interesting, complicated, has a lot of cool stuff to offer story-wise for sure.
I am probably overly excited about the Twinkle Sisters. I'm excited about Bill Dormack because he's hot. That's mostly it, yeah.
All right, which character in Our Republic, Phase 1 or Phase 2, do you most relate to? That stumped everybody.
Yeah. Oh, I heard someone say Geoda. I'm going to say Keith Trennis. I love her.
I'm gonna say Brianna because.
I'm like a salve with a quart rising.
I suppose Skier, because he turned into the dad I want to be. I thank you.
You know, I'm gonna say Bell, because we get to see him pick himself up a lot, and also he's a dog guy.
I'm going to say Elzar Mann because he has the best surname.
Well played, George.
I'm going to say Mark Yunro. And the reason why is that he's a real hard worker, and he picks himself when he gets knocked down, and he goes for what he wants, and I like that. I like that about him.
You know, I gave you this question knowing that you couldn't say the Emperor. I should have known that your answer would have been wrong. Ario, how about you?
Mine is Keith Trennis, and I actually made something that I want to show all of you.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a figure of Keith Trennis, 12-inch scale. Me and my friend back home made it. I'm from Indonesia, by the way. So I really love her, and that's why I made this figure, and it's not for sale.
Damn it.
I think I'd say Reed Silas because you like books so much. I love books so much, and I just want everyone to be nice. I think I would say Elzar also because he's hot. He's hot. Thank you. He's a mess, and I'm a mess, and I love that for both of us.
Rosie, how about you?
Maybe Buryaga, just because he's getting thrown into this whole new world and trying to figure it out and grow and learn. So, yeah.
Well done. Well.
I have one more, real quick.
Oh, go ahead.
So I was gonna say Geode because I fly under the radar, and when nobody's looking, I'm like doing stuff.
Awesome. Well, listen, I want to thank everyone for coming out today. I want to thank everyone for reading and supporting this. If you have some time to kill while you're in Manhattan, we have a billboard playing in Times Square, which is awesome. You know, if you want to go check out that and the Hocus Pocus trailer about 500 times, it's in there. But it's right, yeah, right above the Disney store. Thank you, Zoraida. But in all seriousness, thank you all for reading and supporting these books. It really means the world to us. You know, everyone up here pours their hearts and souls into these titles. They work around the clock, 24/7, to make stories that matter and to make stories that will entertain and that will mean something to people. And we're really, really proud of the work that they've done. I'm really proud of the work that they've done. I'm amazed at the reception and grateful for the reception, and want you to know that whether it's the High Republic titles or any of our other Star Wars titles that we're working on, whether it's the flagship for the Marvel comic, our other books with our other publishers, Del Rey, Viz, Dark Horse, we're doing this for you guys, right? And as long as you keep reading, we'll keep making them. So thank you for reading, thank you for supporting the books, thank you for supporting these authors. Have a great rest of your Comic-Con. Thank you, and may the Force be with you.
Thank you for joining us for this special edition of Canon Fodder. For more Star Wars podcast content, be sure to subscribe to Fantha Tracks Radio on your podcatcher of choice. Subscribe to all our social media at links.fanthatracks.com. Be sure to be checking out fanthatracks.com daily for all your latest Star Wars news. And you can also join us live on YouTube for Good Morning Tatooine every Sunday evening at youtube.com/Fantha TV.
Coming up next on Fantha Tracks Radio, it's Making Tracks.